the internet era, what happens when the world becomes digitized? The next phase is the social media era. What happens when people get information from each other? The third phase is the collaborative or sharing on-demand economy, like Airbnb. What happens when people get the physical things in the world from each other? That's also peer-to-peer. Now we're entering the autonomous era. So the last three are here and now. I'm gonna spend less time on them. The next phase is the autonomous world. What happens when the repetitive tasks in our lives become automated? And then the next phase, and Kate, thank you for setting the stage. Where's Kate? Up there, front and center. Are really around looking at the inner space. Inside of our minds and our bodies, technology is now impacting who we are as humans. Now, if you're feeling a little bit concerned, I want to make sure you see there's opportunity as well. The vision that I hear, and I don't know if this is true, frankly, it's cloudy, but the opportunity is that humans no longer need to labor. Humans no longer need to do the things that we really weren't meant to do on the planet. But instead we can do the higher order things, like the things Kate was talking about being with our families, being connected, being grounded to ourselves, focusing on the arts and the media. Obviously you guys know music with a crescendo. So what if we spent more time? There's probably some Da Vinci artists in here. There's some great Beethovens here in the room or in the country that haven't been unlocked because they're forced into labor. But I want to poll the room really quick. All right, so how many of you, first question with a show of hands, how many of you, raise your hand if you think automation will replace human jobs? Just about every hand is up. All right, so I would say about 90% of the room. Now here's the second question, and I want you to, let's see the hands. How many of you think your job will be automated? Why do I only see 10 hands? See, that is such a great opportunity for self-reflection. We think that guy's job's gonna get automated or that gal's job's gonna be, but it's not gonna be me because I am special. Okay. And what's happening is we're being surrounded by technologies, whether it's AR, mixed reality, big data, devices like this Apple Watch, virtual reality, social networks, mobile devices, sensors, cameras, drones, self-driving cars, whatever it is. And it's integrating into 4 aspects of our lives. At the top, it's going into our minds. We're seeing, I'll show you some examples in a sec. From mindfulness software to attention limiting, screen time management, to meditation software, and then our body. Everything's being quantified. The latest technologies, breath tech. I'll show you an example in a second. Obviously, our fitness and our activities being tracked. Peter and I did a run yesterday. It was great. We tracked all of our data and location. And then community. By the way, when you look at who lives the longest on the planet, and there's been multiple studies, it's not the person who's on paleo or doing CrossFit. It's the person who has their loved ones around them. They actually live longer. So community is actually the key thing. And then next is the physical space around us. Our offices, our cars, our homes, the third space, the cafe. Technology is being integrated. How many of you have an Alexa at home or a Google Home, some type of assistant? So imagine like 10 years ago, like, God, no, I don't want to have Big Brother in my home. And now but today we welcome these things in. It's a common occurrence. So the point of this last era, and again, it's cloudy. I don't quite see all of it, but I wanted to bring it to you now so you could be the first movers here, is starting with satellite as a service is the first play. And so this is the 6 eras. Now, let me summarize this and we'll talk about what you can do in your company. So the questions, and I asked this question for the first one in the internet era, is when the physical world becomes digitized, it means the power shifts to the companies that actually did the digitization. I think we already know this story. Now, when the world embraces social media and people get information from each other, that also shifts power to the people. Same thing happened with the collaborative economy. Society becomes more efficient. We have less waste. We're sharing more of the same items. We can share homes, co-working spots. We can share cars, bicycles, and scooters. But we've already seen the power shifted to the tech startups that are leading this. That's the one thing that I do want to make sure that you hear this very carefully. So I come from Silicon Valley, where these platforms and marketplaces exist, and Silicon Valley is profiting from this. I encourage you to build your own platforms. Don't just rely on the ones in Silicon Valley, because the power is shifting over there. You guys got to build your own. You need to develop these software pieces, because the data flows somewhere else, and whoever has the data gets to monetize it. So not all of the innovation needs to happen within your company. You should partner with the startups, and many of at the startup competition yesterday, figure out how to partner with them in an open ecosystem. Speaking of which, Johnson & Johnson has these labs where startups can actually go in and work with them and partner. They even allow competitive startups that compete with J&J to actually work with them. And their belief is, if we can get all of the boats to rise, then we will win as well. The last example I have is MasterCard. Their CEO believes in innovation, and he said that the innovation group will have a budget, even if the company has negative performance financially. There's always going to be a dedicated budget for funding innovation. So it's not just something you do when your company's doing well. Innovation is something you're doing all of the time. And innovation is doing something new constantly.